Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for 24th March 2022. Today's feature news is on India and the Arctic. India has lately initiated its Arctic policy, and in this regard we will understand what has been the Arctic policy, what has been the difference between the policy in the Arctic and the Antarctic regions, what is the context of India's Arctic policy, what are its components, what are the objectives to be achieved, what are the challenges, opportunities for the country. All right, so let's welcome all of you. Hi, Pooja, Amlan, Netra, Kriti, Bhavani, Hima, Ashish, Kim, Tiyasha, Pooja, you as well. Welcome all of you. Welcome. Let's start this discussion. So, yes, before this, a couple of things that you people had spoken about. One, Ashish had asked the question, if the energy that was to be utilized, that was a part of the second update on data centers and heating solutions to be provided by the data centers, right? So the question, I think it was in the form of question itself, if the energy, if the heat of these data centers, it would be utilized to create energy, the heat could be utilized to create fuel or energy. If that is the question, then the answer is this, that the heat that is generated from here, it will be utilized to power the district heating centers. District heating centers have what? They have water, and this water needs to be boiled. It needs to evaporate, and this is how it will get circulated at various homes, and it heats up the homes and offices. So this heat will be utilized to heat up water or whatever is the entity that stores energy, heat energy, and it gets circulated. All right, so this is the update. And also the question that I had asked you all, what is the area from which the Arctic region, Arctic Sea and the Southern Sea Ocean, both of them start? The Arctic Ocean starts from 66 and 3.34 degree north latitude, and the Southern Sea starts from 60 degree south latitude. This is the difference between both of them. All right, the Southern Sea is largely uninhabited, but the Northern Sea area, the countries are the ones which inhabit all these regions. So let's start this discussion about India and the Arctic in the context of the Arctic nations. All right. Yes, Ashish, that is the concept. Amlan says after 2050, at least 1 month of ice free. Oh, we are talking of not only 1 month of ice free, it could be ice free during the winters. Quite a possibility of that as well. Absolutely true, Amlan. What you have said is a part of the IPCC report. So let's start this discussion. See, the Arctic region constitutes of countries which the Arctic Council constitutes of those countries which are surrounding the Arctic Ocean. No other country can become a part of the Arctic Council as a member if they are not surrounding the Arctic Ocean. Arctic Ocean beyond 66.34 degrees Celsius north of latitude, this is where it exists, and hence we have 8 Arctic countries. So if you see, if this is the North Pole, the countries which constitute Arctic Council are United States of America, right, because of Alaska region. Then we have Canada here. After that, Greenland is a part of Denmark. Please note that Greenland is a part of Denmark. Iceland is another country, and 3 countries in Europe, Finland, Sweden and Norway, and then we have a huge one, Russia. So Russia being 1, 3 more European economies here, 4 countries, Iceland being 5th, and then we have Canada, United States and Denmark, which is a part of Greenland. So there are 8 of them: Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway 4, Iceland 5, Denmark 6, Canada 7 and USA 8. 8 countries which are a member of the Arctic Council. India became an observer nation along with other Asian countries and other European economies of the Arctic Council. India, not only India, there are some other countries also which are a member to this council. See, have a look. The ones which are members are the permanent ones, but observers need to be activated. They need to be doing some experiments and they need to show some progress to be a part of this observer group and to be a part and grow in this particular observer group. Otherwise, they would be thrown out. So India not only became a member in 2013 alone, but China has also, Japan also, South Korea, Singapore, all these countries became a member as observers in the Arctic Council. Along with that, some European countries also like France, Spain, Italy, all of them became members of the Arctic Council. What is the reason? See, as I mentioned, Arctic region is inhabited, but Antarctic region is not inhabited. Antarctica is a continent in itself. Arctic region is not a continent in itself. This is merely the presence of ocean and the land bodies beyond 66.34 degree Celsius degree north latitude. So when these countries exist, the portion of these countries exist beyond the 66 and a half, almost and a half degree latitude, these regions are the ones in Arctic region. They are a part of Arctic Council and they must utilize what they feel is the exclusive economy zone must be utilized. The potential energy must be utilized, the sea trade routes must be utilized. If there is biodiversity, it must be preserved. If there is climate change being induced because of it, it must be studied. So this is what is the potency of each of the countries present in these places. And what happens is that since the area is only constrained and restricted, have a look. This is how Arctic region looks. If you look from the top, this is the Arctic Ocean. Right, there could be permafrost, there could be permanent ice coverage at this particular area, but then each of them would belong to some of the other country because this area is, very, very compact. Unlike the Antarctic region, which is completely uninhabited and it is a global common, Arctic region is not considered as a global common. It is not considered. Why? Because the exclusive economic zone of each of these countries do exceed almost all the regions, and in fact they overlap also. So there is an issue between Russia and USA, right? Both of them say this is our economic zone and we will have this zone exclusively for us. Similarly, there are islands which are disputed because of exclusivity over here, 200 nautical miles from the land area. So this is the reason because of which all these 8 countries are at some level of dispute. However, the area is not a part of global common. For the Southern Ocean, for the Antarctic region, we have a treaty, we have a common treaty, but for Arctic region, we do not have a common treaty, right? So first of all, when we look at this, the formation of Arctic Council, the Arctic Council got formed in the year 1996 with the help of Ottawa Declaration for the formation of Arctic Council, and now it has we have had 25 years of formation of this Arctic Council. This is the 26th year, right? So silver jubilee. Along with that, Reykjavik Declaration, it was initiated in the year 2021, just last year, and we had covered this in one of the featured news. Yes, in the featured news in May. Now, this was the declaration in which the Arctic Council for the first time charted a course for all the Arctic nations. Right, something on the lines of treaty. First time they initiated a level of treaty, and this place, Reykjavik, is the capital of Iceland. And what was the part of this? Why? Same thing that all the treaties have. For example, build a stronger Arctic Council, monitor the climate, right? Make the sustainable economic development, have the local people participate and progress here. Along with that, healthy Arctic marine environment, ecosystems, knowledge and communication, sustainable development. This is what was the strategy for Arctic countries under Reykjavik Declaration last year's, right? So Arctic Council got formed 25 years back, and then another declaration for Arctic region. So this is how you distinguish between Arctic and Antarctic region. There are no conflicts in Antarctic region, but conflicts are definitely there in Arctic region because of lesser exclusivity in the Arctic region, right? And I will discuss in a short while a question as well, question which was asked in UPSC examination just a few months back. How do the melting in Arctic ice and glaciers of the Antarctic and the Antarctic, they differ and differently affect the weather patterns and human activities around the earth. We'll discuss this later. So getting back to this article, so when I have discussed the main countries which are a part of these Arctic Council, these are 8 in number. Please remember, Greenland participates with the help of sovereign state of Denmark, right? Now, this is the initial thing. But then when you look at India has declared its first Arctic policy right now. It has got 6 components of it. It has also got a mission attached with it, right? So mission is largely around quite a few things. So one of them is science and research. See, India can look at Arctic region from 2 perspectives: scientific research and commerce and trade and economy development. But India largely capitalizes the first one, that is scientific development. Why? Because India's climate is somehow dependent on Arctic climate as well. The melting of glaciers, the thinning of the ice caps or the sea level rise, all of them are determinants for India's climate. Not only that, the 3 poles are interlinked: the North Pole, the South Pole and the Himalayan pole. All of them are interlinked. And this is how, if we study what is happening in Arctic region, we understand the climate of our country as well, subcontinent as well. So India reposes its relationship with the Arctic largely on the scientific and research basis. And secondary comes the trade relations, the economy, the developments in commerce potential. That is very much secondary to India. And India has been able to develop the scientific research potential in Arctic because India initiated this in the Antarctic region first. Antarctic, everybody could go, peaceful usage, that was the policy. And with the help of that development, India started this in Norway in the year 2008, right? Its first research station, Himadri. Thank you for putting that on the other discussion. All right. So this is one thing. Along with this scientific research, climate and environment protection, that becomes imminent and of concern. Economy and human development, right? Transportation and connectivity, governance and international cooperation, and capacity development for Indians in the Arctic area, right? So this is the complete 6 pillars on which India's Arctic policy rests. What do they want to achieve through this? Cooperation with the Arctic region. See, if you think Russia is the only country with which India is cooperating, it is not so. India is also cooperating with Norway. India is also cooperating with Sweden. India is also cooperating with Canada. These are 3 other countries with which India has initiated its program for Arctic research to harmonize polar research and with the third pole. See, the moment we start understanding Antarctic, we understood how to deal with Arctic, and with the help of both of this, we are going to understand how Himalayas will behave with the rising sea level, with the rising climate change, with the rising temperature imbalance around the whole world. So Himalayas will be able to study with the help of studying of Arctic region. This is one of the missions of India's Arctic policy, to contribute to efforts enhancing humankind understanding of Arctic region. We want to understand the Arctic a little more. Biodiversity, the presence of polymetallic nodules, the presence of diseases, all of them to be studied, and we want to understand the Arctic a little more from scientific perspective. To strengthen international effort to combat climate change and protect environment, and to study and understand the Arctic within India. So this is the mission of India's Arctic policy, right? Now, having understood what are the missions, we should also understand what has been the fundamental area of interest for India. And this is where my keynote here is. So fundamental area of interest, as I mentioned, is scientific. India is not looking at wider trade and commerce now that many countries are fighting, right? So if it has to side with Russia, then USA will be, not happy around it. Canada will not be happy. So we have largely tied our Arctic policy around scientific research and development. And secondary to it comes the trade, right? Commerce, or India's strategic interest in the Arctic area with the help of a country like Russia. Russia is now the membership of the Arctic Council. The head of it is circulated every 2 years between all the 8 members. None of the observer countries can ever become a member. They can only be observer, provided they are time and again proving their scientific endeavors there. So right now Russia is the one who is heading the Arctic Council, and all the other Arctic nations, they have shunned Russia as the president. And very strategically, India's policy, Arctic policy, here comes up right now. Imagine if this has been planned or whatever it be. But point being, scientific endeavors are one area of interest for the country. And secondary comes commerce and economy. And this is not just for India, but for many other countries which have eyed Arctic for some or the other level of developments. What are they? Presence of petroleum, presence of natural gas. You people have mentioned unexplored, 25 to 30% of unexplored presence of natural gas and petroleum is there in Arctic areas. They have to be explored. So resource potential. Not only that, rare earth minerals. The seabeds are full of rare earth. Not only that, fishing prospects. Now that the whole area will be without ice, as Amlan mentioned, the fishing potential in that area, marine potential will be higher than before, right? Then navigation. Look at the kind of sea routes that Arctic area provides. You should be able to draw a map like this. Not exactly like this, but if you draw a block where you try to represent South Asia, Asia, and then and Europe, you should be able to circumnavigate this map with the help of the traditional route for trades, right, which passes through the Suez Canal. And then you should also be able to draw two more routes. One is Chennai-Vladivostok corridor, which India and Russia are looking at, and then extending this Vladivostok corridor to the Northern Sea route. This is called as the Northern Sea route, which connects Tokyo to a place like St. Petersburg. Tokyo on the east to St. Petersburg on the west, Baltic region. And do you know, if anything has to be traded from via sea, see, everything cannot pass through land areas, no. Vladivostok or Japan to St. Petersburg, there is a train line here. The road connectivity is not very strong, but there is a train line. This is, I think, Trans-Siberian line. I looked at it in Discovery very long back. But then one of the reliable routes for trading is through Suez Canal. And this route gets reduced by 40% if the place is ice free. It gets reduced by 40%. Imagine this. So this is definitely one of the viable trade routes. And when the region is ice free in summer seasons, the Northern Sea route can be utilized very well. India can utilize it very well. Not only that, if they see, Chennai-Vladivostok is one of the routes. You should also look at another north-south corridor. India to Shahbar port, right? India, Kandla, Mumbai port to Shahbar, and then getting into the Caspian Sea and then moving towards Petersburg and other European countries. So this is the north-south trade route, and this Chennai-Vladivostok should also run almost parallel to it. That's the idea. These trade routes are very strategic, are of very strategic interest to India, especially for its trade and commerce routes. So this will get a boost if there is lesser ice cover, right? Navigation, which will make the routes shorter. Strategic interest for India. See, China has declared itself as a near Arctic nation. It is not at Arctic. It has declared itself by itself that we are a near Arctic nation. So in this regard, if China is trying to develop its potential, right, so is Russia, and so should India. So is USA. So this is the reason India must extend its potential with Russia to develop the Arctic region, right? Russia already needs technological, and human resources for this. Russia needs more investment, and that is the reason that although trade between India and Russia is $10 billion, but the investment is more than $30 billion. Imagine this, right? Strategic interest in these areas, right? Accessibility and harnessing the resources in a sustainable manner. All the resources, be it polymetallic nodules, be it the petroleum reserves, be it fishing potential, each of them, right? Biodiversity and climate change to be studied along with that. Now for that, all the studies and all that movement is done with the help of ships. These ships are called as the icebreaker ships. Do we have any? Oh, I'm sorry, my friends. India doesn't have these ships at all. These are the icebreaker ships. Huge ships. Titanic, why did it, what was the reason for it to get drowned? It was because of icebergs. But these ships, the icebergs, maybe 5-10% is visible. Most of it is a huge piece of ice lump within the sea. Now these icebreaker ships, they can break meters and meters of ice, and this is how they navigate through polar regions. India does not have these ships. India needs these ships. India needs more human resources. When India initiated its Himadri, the project in Svalbard in Norway, there were hardly 7-8 scientists. Only $2-3 million of investment for quite a few years. $2-3 million is how much? 21 crore rupees. Only 21 crore rupees to be sustained for 3, 4, 5 years from 2008 to 13. So this kind of research investment and not even having a ship to be able to navigate, this was not sufficient. India also created a budget for a ship like this, but India would take these kind of ships on rent from other countries to be able to navigate. Also, India would conduct research only during summer season. We are not even acclimatized, our human resources are not equipped enough. So this has been the reason that although India has plans, but we have not been able to effectively handle it. On the other hand, what about China? China has got 2 of these icebreaker ships. Russia also has these icebreaker ships. Not only the icebreaker ships, China has also explored a lot of other technologies here. See, China has been one of the countries which has explored flammable ice. Have you heard of this? Flammable ice? Please start using this. Methane hydrate, we have covered this in one of the terms last year. Methane hydrate, it exists. It seems that this is like an ice block which can burn, but this is not an ice block. This is a water. Methane is packed inside water. It gets packed in high pressure conditions, right, below the sea and during low temperatures. So low temperature, high pressure, this is the necessity for formation of methane hydrate, also called as flammable ice. And it burns. Looks like an ice is burning, but this is methane hydrate burning. China has started to exploit this potential presence of this methane hydrate in South China region, but a lot of this also exists in polar areas. Imagine, right? So this is the reason that China has been able to advance its technology here. So must India, right? And what does India have over China? Do you know what does India have? India has a goodwill relationship with all the countries, with USA, with Canada, with all the Norwegian countries here, with Russia. Such great friendship with these countries. This is far ahead of what China has with these nations. So India is not seen as a predatory power. India is seen as a goodwill partner. India is seen as a country with cooperative relations, right? They have scientific avenues, economic opportunities, and India also could help the indigenous population. See, India has got a huge experience of dealing with the indigenous population. This area here is of around 4 million population, 4 million. And out of 4 million population in the Arctic region, half of this population is Russian, right? And there are 40 ethnic groups. Now, all these ethnic groups, this was a part of the Arctic Council Treaty that we spoke of, Reykjavik Declaration, where the indigenous communities must participate in the growth of the Arctic region. This was one of the important proposals. And India has got substantial experience in being able to take everybody along, inclusivity, right? We see this throughout the country. It's such diversity, yet we try to enroll everybody in the plans. So India could have a better plan here for all the ethnic communities, which is far ahead of other nationalities. See, European countries, they are nationalistic. No, they're not only patriotic, they're nationalistic. The culture throughout the nation is same, which is unlike what is in India. The culture is different. It is like mosaic model. If you remember, we discussed this. So India has got great goodwill in all these capacities, and this is how European nations and Arctic Council members look at India, right? Now, certain challenges here are, first challenge is when the ice melts, it is going to decrease the biodiversity. Polar birds, polar bear, right? They might even become extinct because they won't find any land area to sit on, and they won't be able to survive in hotter temperatures. Not only that, the increase in presence of the bacterial viral diseases which were dormant because of the low climate, that will again be a challenge for all the countries. Not only that, challenges which are specific to India are the presence of finances, the presence of technical capacity, more scientists to be given. Now they have started to increase, but this is not substantial. As I mentioned, the icebreaker ships, these are the challenges for a country like India, right? This is where this policy that we started, this is where it has integrated all the challenges and converted it into an opportunity. Earlier, we didn't have a policy for the Arctic. If we didn't have a policy for the Arctic, the foreign ministry was treating the Arctic region differently. The Ministry of Shipping understood something else about it. The Ministry of Science, it understood something else. Human resources development did not understand a lot of things. But then if we have a policy, all the ministries, they coordinate their approach towards all these the 6 pillars and the 5 aims, 5 missions that we spoke of. All the ministries would be in sync. So Ministry of Shipping, Ministry of Human Resources Development, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Commerce, and Ministry of Earth Sciences. All of them will be able to synchronize their workforce towards these goals. So this is one of the challenges which is encountered, right? See, Arctic region also has another challenge. It has low digital connectivity. So presence of satellites is low, but India can launch some polar satellites. They can start giving in data to the Arctic region, to the people living here. So the connectivity must increase and India will be able to do that. As I mentioned, another challenge was the working conditions was such that India would be able to operate only 80 days out of 365 days, only summer times, and that too few number of scientists. So now that also is a challenge which must be looked at, right? All right. So this is what are the challenges that I mentioned. Some opportunities, right? Scientific opportunities, commerce opportunities, strategic opportunities ahead of China. Why India to be favored ahead of China? And do remember the kind of declaration that we speak of, Reykjavik Declaration and Ottawa Declaration, right? 25 years for the formation of Arctic. The presence of the navigation, which will shorten the trade routes, that is an important way in which India can move ahead. See, China, on the other hand, on one hand, India is advancing its goodwill power with these countries, but China, on the other hand, has increased its capacity in underwater infrastructure. China has even called this near polar region, near Arctic region, as its polar Silk Route. It has started to call these names, right? It has started to increase its investment in port and energy infrastructure. If it does so, it will be a bigger competition for a country like India, which are only, and both the countries are only trying to increase their commerce and trade potential and strategic presence, possibly gaining some, economical fuel from these areas. The best part about India's partner Russia is that it has got a very long coastline. I think 25,000 kilometers long coastline is what exists with, see, if you consider the fjords and all everything, then 25,000 around kilometers long coastline with Russia. Most of the coastline that is also contradicting with the coastline of the other countries because of the, the matching of the exclusive economic zone. So that is a trouble. Conflicting claims are there. This is where the countries initiated the policy, as I mentioned, the policy of living together, right? Last year's policy, strategic actions, for example, monitoring climate change, stronger Arctic Council, working for the people, right? Strong social development, sustainable economic development, healthy Arctic marine environment. So you should remember Arctic policy in what context, India's Arctic policy in what context, right? Okay. See, the first, all right, this image talks about India's presence in the Arctic region. The first presence of India in Arctic region was Himadri, right? And this was in the year 2008. We established a research base, Himadri. This is the research base in Himadri, right, at Svalbard. Now, these are amongst the northernmost islands, northernmost arc group of islands where and closest to the North Pole, right? So this is one. And then we deployed INDARC. What is India Arc? This is a submersible moor. You understand moor, no? The boats are attached to the moors, right? And the moors, they might go deep in the sea. So these are the moors and they go deep in the water. They are there for oceanic research. And the third station was again at Svalbard. This was for atmospheric research. So all of these research stations was established in Norway and around Norway region, right? India also, under the Britishers, India had signed the Svalbard Treaty in Paris in the year 1920. When India was not a sovereign nation, it was under the Britishers' control. So India does have certain rights under the Svalbard Treaty where we can go and do some fishing activities in case the government is interested. But it is a little too far, isn't it? Little too far for fishing, but then not too far for scientific endeavors, research development, and gaining some edge over competing nations like China. All right. So fundamental interest of India in the Arctic controls the climate. Arctic controls the climate to a certain level. Right? Relations with the Indian monsoon. It is established that there are certain relations which we do not know exactly, but then their relations, they need to be studied. the melting of Arctic ice is also going to increase the sea level in Indian Ocean region. Clues about Himalayan glaciers. When Arctic melts, slowly and steadily, Himalaya will also melt. It will give hints about how the glaciers melt, what happens in the future. And this is why we established some research stations right in the Arctic area, right? So this is an update, and polar research vessels that I showed you, the icebreaker ships, what they do is that they study the thinning of ice, they study the glacial movement, they study the sea level rise, they study the temperature of the sea, they study the presence of biodiversity or its decrease along with the differentiated timings, right? So every winter they would go out, they would look at the kind of biodiversity that is decreasing with time, or the thinning of the ice crust that is happening over the years. So this is what they would study, right? See, on the image that is on the right, this image clearly shows that the presence of ice has decreased over time. Now, this dotted area speaks of the ice that was present during 1980, the dotted area. I have marked that right now with the pen. This area was the one which had ice in 1980. And this area decreased to the area in green. This is the presence of ice in 2017. And it is being said that the ice here completely will get converted into water at least 1 year, at least for a specific time in summers post 2050, right? So this is how trade routes have already gotten formed. Trade routes in summer season, some trading is happening, icebreaker ships are going, and this is where we see one of the largest trading routes being under Russia, right? Moving from Tokyo to St. Petersburg. All right. I want to show you this map. This is the map of Europe, and if you see here very clearly, Norway is one country which is directly exposed to the Arctic region, and Finland is another country which is exposed to the Arctic region. Finlandization, if you remember, Finland is the direct neighbor of Russia, right? We had studied, but Sweden is not directly exposed here. Sweden is not directly exposed, so you should take a good observation. And if Sweden does have some exposure to these places here, please let me know, right? I will also have some clarity over this. But all these countries, 3 countries, are members of the Arctic Council. All right. So this is a small update from this end. Getting back to the feature news. All right. Amlan says the place where cold and warm water currents meet is favorable for fishes. Yes, because of mixing of the ocean currents, whirling, and that's how the nutrients come up. When the nutrition comes up, there's sunlight, and in sunlight and nutrition presence, there is growth of planktons, and when the planktons grow, fishes thrive. They want to eat. The bigger fishes want to eat the smaller fishes, and that's how there is good fishing grounds. Ashish says, sir, aren't these icebreaker ships not sustainable as they break the ice, thus poorer for climate? Okay. The icebreaker ships, see, we cannot overpower nature. If you understand a little of geography, there are a couple of theories in geography. One of them talks of determinism, and one of them talks of possibilism, and the third one talks of stop-go determinism. Stop-go determinism says that whatever nature exceeds by far any human possibilities. Possibilism says that humans can change the natural course of action through their efforts, and stop-go determinism says that for a while humans can hold on to what they want, but eventually nature's course of action will rule. Now, in case of the issues in the Arctic area, where you say there could be a problem from the icebreaker ships, they are breaking the ice. See, the influence of the climate is so much, it's so overpowering that it can freeze the ice again. The same climate can be, the ice can be frozen, and the next climatic season it can again be frozen. So these ships are not as much of a destructive power as the greenhouse gases are. Because greenhouse gases, global warming, they cause the global warming, and which is ensuring that the ice caps and which is ensuring that the ice covers do not form at all. So this is what is, you know, in the humans changing the possible course of natural action. But then is it really possible? Because nature will restore its balance, right? And this is where largely the third theory says stop go determinism. It's just like a traffic signal where there is a red light for a small while, right? Humans can hold it for a small while, but eventually the traffic has to flow. So see, icebreaker ships also cannot break 100 meters of ice. A few meters of ice can be broken by the icebreaker ships, and that too where the ice is not very, very strong, where they need to enter and protrude. And these are nuclear ships, by the way. These are nuclear powered ships, not nuclear capable, but they're nuclear powered. The engine is powered through nuclear energy. So this is the potential that is there in these kind of ships. Of course, certain level of climate, microclimate will get impacted, right? Certain level of biodiversity might get impacted, right? We will study about biodiversity in a short while. So Niranjan, good evening. Pooja says El Nino effect. All right. So getting back to this, India and the Arctic. India's Arctic policy document was unveiled by Ministry of what? Ministry of Earth Sciences, the same ministry which released the policy on Deep Ocean Mission. Deep Ocean Mission, Antarctic Mission, Arctic Mission, all of them through Ministry of Earth Sciences. Exploration of the polymetallic nodules, Ministry of Earth Sciences, right? So same ministry is doing a lot of work for all of us, right? 4 million inhabitants, see, and out of 4 million, 2 millions are the ones which are around almost 2 millions Russians. Geological importance, atmospheric, oceanographic, biogeochemical cycles, they get impacted through what is happening in the Arctic area, loss of sea ice caps, sea ice, warming of the atmosphere, all of them. Permafrost and pandemic, one impact, impacting monsoons, absolutely, we don't know how, that's why the research is happening. Economic importance, mining, food security, shipping, trade routes. Remember the example of methane hydrate, the example of Chennai Vladivostok economic corridor, the north-south corridor, all of them should be put along with these examples that you have. Russia, third largest country to export petroleum resources. So again linked to the unexplored petroleum and gases which exist in these areas. See, when the question comes, this should flow out of you automatically. Not only the scientific endeavors, the trade, the commerce, the potential strategic significance of India over China. One simple example is China asserting itself as calling itself a near Arctic country. So what is India doing about it? Give the examples, draw a map. All right. The polar program, all the three poles are somehow linked to each other. The Antarctic and Himalayas, right? Antarctic treaty system. See, I think now you have understood what I meant by saying Antarctic treaty and Arctic treaty. Why are they different? What is the issue between them? Right? Antarctic, largely global common. Arctic, it is belonging to each of the nations. So this is the history of India's Arctic research, India's engagement in Arctic. INDARC Observatory, which is a multi-sensor mood observatory for oceanic research. All right. India's northernmost lab, all of these in Norway itself, but India is increasing its partnership with countries like Sweden, countries like China, and also Russia. All right. Studying cryosphere research, Arctic Ocean, atmosphere, pollution, governing and research bodies. All right. 6 pillars of the Arctic policy: science and research. So when you talk about research and development, here this is where you can not only speak about climatic research, also speak about increasing the digital connectivity here. Put it here in scientific research, right? So we can also have resource satellites moving around the polar orbits. Resource sat data for land and water management in Arctic area. Economic and human development. India helping the 40 odd different communities here. Developing Arctic infrastructure, transportation and connectivity, trade routes, international north-south transport corridor, unified deep water systems, north-south connectivity, all of them. Climate environmental protection. See, once you know the foundations, these headings will let you flow into the themes, and headings need not be explained so much. If you have a heading, one heading, climate environment protection, give an example or give some data, related to Arctic. That's it. Move to the next point, because eventually you will have to write this answer in maximum 200 words. 200 words plus an image or a diagram, 150 words plus an image or a diagram. That's it. Governance, international cooperation, international capacity building, and conclusion. All right. So there is something that I wanted to show you people here. Oh yes, that is it. That's here. See, I regularly want you to watch the previous year questions, and I have created this document by myself. Go to blog section of the Edukemy website, blog section. In that you will find a blog, GS paper 1 analysis, UPSC main examination 2021. And this is where all the faculty have written their analysis of how the questions were asked. And if you move to the lowermost part, this is where we have mapped the questions of from our sources, and I have mapped for all the sources, including the Gazette also that we study at times. So you click here and you will come into GS question paper. When you look at question number 15, this is a PDF document. When you come to question 15, this was asked: how do the melting of Arctic ice and glaciers of Antarctic differently affect the weather patterns and human activities on Earth? See. Now we've studied Arctic policy, India's Arctic policy. That is quite straightforward. India's interest in the Arctic, all well done. But then this was a part of the IPCC report, the affecting of Arctic differently and the affecting of Antarctic differently. How do the melting of Arctic and Antarctic glaciers differently affect the weather patterns and human activities on Earth? Explain. So first thing that you should have in your mind about this is that the Arctic is largely occupied with people, Antarctic is not occupied. And when an Arctic area is occupied, there will be more human interventions, there will be more pollution that will lead to changes in the microclimate. Not only that, see, the northern areas of the whole Earth, they are occupied, they are full of land. And somehow this is how the equator passes, somehow. So most of the regions, around 70-80% of the regions which are occupied with land are in the north, and only few exist in the south. So the Arctic region, the melting of the Arctic region, it affects the climate and the human survival, economic activities more in the north, because the southern areas are lesser occupied by humans. I hope you can understand what I am saying. Then if you know a little more about ocean currents, see, these are part of the answer. That is why I am discussing. I'll also show that sheet. When this part gets heated up, the part of heat, it flows along the cold southern ocean currents, cold ocean currents. So this is how it does not affect the climate as much in the southern areas as it affects in the northern areas. Right? I hope you understand what I'm saying right here. This is a GS question. This is not geography. This is not anything else. This is GS question. So when you look into, and whether have we discussed all this? Oh yes, we have discussed this. See, there is something called as polar amplification. I have taken a screenshot of this. Right? This is a part of Cosmos, but also discussed in GS. Polar amplification, the phenomena where surface temperature change at higher latitudes exceeds the global average surface temperature change. So the whole surface temperature change, that will be not as high as the change in polar areas. The sea temperature rise is more in the tropical areas, but the temperature rise overall is happening more in the polar areas, right? They are getting affected by temperature rise more than the tropical areas, right? This is what is called as polar amplification. So polar amplification is high in Arctic area and lesser in Antarctic area. This must be noted. This is the difference between the northern and southern hemisphere. So I am going beyond the scope of this discussion to explain you what happened in the UPSC question. This cannot come up all of a sudden in your mind. This has to be grown. This has to be grown like a seed in the mind also. So this happens, the changes in temperature happen more in the Arctic area more than Antarctic also, because of two reasons. One is the northward flow of surface waters in the Antarctic area that I mentioned, because of the ocean currents, colder ocean currents. And the second one is the radiative feedbacks. The radiative feedbacks, because of the presence of Earth climate, the local climate in the Arctic, the radiative feedbacks, they increase the temperature more in the northern areas, and that is why more polar amplification happens in northern areas. What does it result into? It results into more of landslides. It results into more of glaciation. It results into more of climate change, increase in the presence of diseases, right? How does it change? So look at the question. Economic activities, weather patterns and human activities on Earth, explain, right? So see, that was the first point. Then we have Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. We discussed this in the Gazette also. This is a screenshot from the Gazette itself. So this circulation is largely affecting the Atlantic region and the Arctic Circle, right? This is causing changes in the currents, the warm current flow in the Atlantic region. And this is causing decreased level of rainfalls in Europe. See, decreased rainfall in Europe, southward shift in tropical rain belt, weakening of African Asian monsoons, and strengthening of southern hemisphere monsoons. So southern hemisphere monsoons, they are getting stronger, and northern hemisphere monsoons, they are getting less. So this was a part of the IPCC report again, right? What else? Arctic warming, erosion of Arctic coastlines. It is happening because of more of this temperature rise in Arctic area as compared to the Antarctic areas. It's clearly right here. Arctic warming, erosion of Arctic coastlines, and disturbance of global sea ice loss, right? So why is it happening? Because of oil drilling, more of exposure of human activities in these areas, right? Halogen chemistry, chemical ozone loss, all this is happening in the Arctic areas, right? All this explains how it has impacted European climate. Flood and heavy precipitation, landslide and snow avalanche, fire weather, glacier and ice sheets, permafrost decreasing, all of this, right? And then we also have a couple of questions. How cryosphere affects the climate. So one question here in our MSP program, and the second question again, what is Arctic haze? Discuss the cause of Arctic haze. This was a part of science and technology, again MSP program, main support program. So Arctic haze, no, just like we have the fog, we have haze as well, right? So haze is caused because of increased pollution, increased human activities, and then lower temperatures cause the particles to settle down in the water droplets, right? So this is what is Arctic haze. This is impacting the Arctic human endeavors, not Antarctic. So you can see the difference between Arctic and Antarctic. This completes the question. So 150-200 words, and this is how you'll be able to attempt a question like this. See, this question is not related directly to this particular theme, but when we are studying Arctic and Antarctic and we don't understand the difference between Arctic and Antarctic heating, then application is reduced, right? So how do we serve them? We are not able to serve you the best. And so those screenshots are a proof that if you study well, if you study only these things only, then, and if you have a broader picture of the mind, and then the mind is open in the examination, practice has happened repeatedly, then you will not face a conflict in the exam. So we studied India's Arctic policy. Question might not get asked on India's Arctic policy, but they could definitely ask what is India's interest in Arctic region, or how could India associate with the European economies far better than what is happening right now. So Arctic becomes a key point there, a key theme there, engagement, or discussion of India-Russian relationships, discussion of India increasing its association with East Asian nations. Talk about Arctic region, no? We've already got logistics exchange agreement with Japan, Russia, Australia, Philippines. So this is how India is trying to get into, will try to get into Arctic. Now in today's discussion, we understood India's Arctic policy. We understood the Arctic Council Treaty itself, right? The Treaty of Ottawa, where it got formed, the difference between Ottawa Treaty and what is about the Southern Ocean Treaty, right? Antarctic Treaty. The difference also understood here. We understood what has been India's interest. India's interest has been scientific endeavors and later commercial endeavors. We also understood how is China with respect to India suitably suited or not. Yes, So economically, strategically suited well enough, but then internationally, diplomatically not suited well enough as compared to what India has. We also understood the kind of potential that India has, the challenges that India needs to overcome to be able to handle increased associations in Arctic region. Right. So this is the complete dissemination of India and the Arctic region. If there are questions, please post them down. That's how we'll get back to you. And if you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments, and shares. कौन से डेट का कॉस्मोस है? प्लीज टेल सर. पूजा, कौन से डेट का कॉस्मोस है? कम टू द वेबसाइट Edukemy. Come to the website Edukemy. This is an exercise for all of you, because this is not like a claim. This is about helping you understand how to write the answers. Go to blogs. When we go to blogs, these are the blogs that we have written here. How Bhopal girls Srushti Jain Deshmukh topped UPSC. Climatology previous year questions. Geography optional questions. What are civil services? Why should one aim for the exam? So quite some inspiring articles, some newspapers to read. And if you go down, you would see General Studies paper 2, General Studies paper 1. So these are the mapping of the questions. When you enter, this was paper 1. This was paper 1 that we are discussing. Paper 1, click here. Oh, this is only the question. I'm sorry. Yes. Where is it? Yes. GS paper 1 analysis. This is the one. GS paper 2 analysis. 3rd and 4th also we have done it, but we have not uploaded it right now. So just click here. You would be able to see what faculty have had to say about this, the paper. And then towards the end, click here to see question wise mapping of various questions. This is a 50-page document. The other are 70 pages. And I think this is question number 15 or 14. Go to that particular question. And if you click that link, I am doing this for you just for this question so that you are able to do it for other questions. And only screenshots of Gazette everywhere. Point to mention is that you be religious about this and you will see the change. But then only looking at it, being passive will not help you. You got to be active, you got to note it down at a place so that you know where to utilize it. Yes. This is question number 15. Click here, you will directly go to the Cosmos link. Click here, you will directly go to Gazette link also. Gazette link. Click here, you will go to Cosmos link. Click here, you will go to Gazette link. Click here, you will go to another link. All the links have directly been put here. Right? And the answers link could not be put, so answer screenshot have been put here. Alright. I hope you understand what I have mentioned here. Alright. So Bhavani, Hima, Amlan, Ashish, Kriti, Tiyasha, Netra, Astha, Kanupriya, good night to all of you. I will see you all. Kanupriya, you've been a little late these days. We've been missing you in answer writing, but never mind. Tiyasha, you too as well were not there today, but never mind, it's fine. The best part is that you are able to participate here. And if there are questions, guys, please put them down. Allow us to get back to you. Doubts, questions, any assertions to be made, everything is welcome. Right, so that you express yourself and eventually fill yourself with those things which come in the examination, so that we are able to help you get through the exam. All right, so good night, Kim. Good night, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow for the current affairs, and after that the feature news for tomorrow. Thank you and good night.